Hey there, Adrienne. It's Dr. Scott. So I have some feedback for you on your literature review draft. And so just so you know, like I'm at home, it's Friday. The dogs might be barking because they bark at leaves because they're idiots. And so you might hear stuff in the background. This document that I'm looking at and that I've commented on, it's got just like little notes in the side for me, but I'm going to send that to you anyhow so that you kind of know what I was looking at. When you get this screencast. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of talk through my feedback. I definitely don't talk about grammar in this screencast. When I highlight things in gray, that usually means that it's something that I found a little confusing, or I needed a little bit more, or maybe it was a little vague and needed some more explanation. So it's not anything grammatical. There's work to do there, but we're not ready for that part yet. So right here, since its creation, the Daly-Miller test of writing apprehension has proved its accuracy and necessity in the field of composition studies. Got it here. You might need a citation for that. This right here, I'm not so sure about. I'm not sure what you meant by that. I mean, it's an important instrument in the field, but it's, it was done 40 years ago or so. It came out, and like it's not used a ton anymore. There's some folks that still use it. The scholarly conversation has gone away from writing apprehension, and now they're looking at other things. Doesn't mean that it has gone away. It just means the conversation has kind of evolved. So I'm not sure what you meant by necessity in the field of composition studies. So I'm looking for places also for you to, one kind of overall issue that I notice is that you kind of need to do some work in kind of condensing things and also organizing organizing your thoughts in the literature review. So here is like a place where I think that some condensing could be done. So you have some conversation about like how people have kind of tweaked Daly-Miller and still come up with the same results, and you're seeing that as evidence that it's a pretty reliable instrument. And that's great. I think that that's good. I think though that you can have just kind of quick references to, so maybe you do something like this. Researchers have found that moving the order of items in the instrument had no impact, and that then you go down here, attempts to argue that outside factors, and that outside factors such as time of semester had minimal impact. And then what you do is you got like these rows of up here, and then you place them here, and then semicolon, and then you go down to Engelmann, and you also put Engelmann up there. So you could kind of like, if these are just kind of like parentheticals that say like, yeah, by the way, this has been tested out, it's pretty solid. Here's a couple of ways that they've done that, because this is one way to do it, to get a couple citations into one very quick paraphrase or quick summary of the research that's out there. The reason why I recommend that is because Daly-Miller is a part of your project, but it's not the be-all and end-all of your project. Like, it's about writing apprehension, but it's not necessarily, like, the instrument is not your project. Like, your instrument is, or that instrument is just helping you identify participants. So I don't know if you need Daly-Miller as much as you have it in your literature review. All right? That was a long walk to tell you that, but I hope that kind of makes some sense. Okay. So I'll leave that in there. This, down here, this kind of read a little bit more like your perception of what was going on there. And I think in a literature review, like, you have to be pretty clear, like, when you're doing this kind of thing. If this is something that you're mentioning that other people have said, that like people are doing this work about identities, like, I think you need to cite that. I'm not aware of scholarship that's doing that, but that's not to say that it's not being done. If this is your supposition, I think you need to make that clear. Okay. I think kind of an overall point about doing a literature review is that the literature review should be put in the context of your project. Instead of just kind of summarizing like this is the conversation about anxiety, there should be some kind of like funneling where the literature that you're looking at is kind of informing the project that you're working on. And there were places in your lit review where I wasn't always sure where the citations or where the conversation was like actually helping you talk about the project that you're going to be working on. It's all about the phenomenon. Like I don't think that you're trying to bullshit and try to talk about writing anxiety and writing identity. Like I don't think you're trying to do anything like that. But I do think that there's places, and this is one of them, where I kind of was left scratching my head wondering how is this going to help Adrienne further her project. And so if it doesn't have immediate relevance, consider cutting it. If it has a minor relevance to your project, it maybe gets an aside, kind of like a parenthetical. So defining apprehension here, like the tendency of people to avoid blah, blah, blah. That minute distinction between apprehension and anxiety, if it's really important to your project, like maybe you have as much text as you have on that. If it's not, like I think maybe it gets kind of a minor. I mean, maybe this kind of conversation goes up into the earlier conversation where you're talking about like, yeah, it's vetted. There's been questions about whether or not this is a major distinction between apprehension and anxiety. That's kind of settled, but let me move on to the parts that are actually relevant to my project, or more important to my project, I should say. Okay. I was kind of getting the feeling that Daly Miller is kind of taking up a lot of your brain for this project. And I was thinking like maybe if you have a paragraph where you're just dealing with Daly Miller, and then there are folks that are doing other studies about writing apprehension, the kind of studies that they're doing. I think that might be a way to kind of organize your thoughts. Right now the thoughts kind of meander a little bit. But that's one suggestion that I had is like maybe you focus on, all right, here's Daly Miller and quantitative methodologies that have been used to study anxiety and apprehension, and then here's Stewart, Seifert, Rollheiser, and others that are doing, maybe they're doing some kind of qualitative approach to studying writing anxiety. I hope that makes sense. Whether you go with that or not, I do think that there needs to be some work kind of like organizing your thoughts. So it's a little bit clearer like what the paragraphs are trying to do. They should all be trying to help set up your project. But right now they're meandering a little bit. They're going hither and yon. There's parts of your study or your lit review that I thought were super fascinating, like occupational interests. What? Yeah, like writing apprehension, not really super indicative of whether or not somebody is going to go in a particular field. Like that's super interesting to me, which kind of makes sense. Like, I hate public speaking, therefore I'm a teacher. What? Why do people do that to themselves? Some sadomasochism going on there. All right. So there's parts that I just thought was fascinating. I'm just a little confused up here when the definition is applied. Writing apprehension means that those affected avoid situations. I'm kind of confused there because it also kind of seems like later on that's kind of contradicted. It might be clear to you. It's not necessarily clear to me, and I think maybe just kind of might be a wording issue. I'm not sure. I love where this ends though. Like you found this kind of gap in the literature, and here's why you think it's significant. Like you're totally hitting the significance there, and I really like it. So good job there. So there's work to do. Making sure that you're focusing your energy on setting up your project rather than just kind of talking about writing apprehension as a whole. I don't know if you need as much of Daly Miller as you have, to be quite frank. That probably needs some trimming. And then organizing your thoughts. I think that's kind of where your work is right now. If I'm confusing, and that happens, let me know. I'm happy to kind of explain this a little bit more if you want to chat over email this weekend, or if you want to get together and chat about this, I'm happy to do that. But that's where I think you're at right now. Again, any questions, let me know. Hope you have a good weekend, Adrienne. Talk to you soon.